First off, thank you to V Publishing for providing us with codes to review this game. So, this game called Fallen Angel, it's, like I said, published by V Publishing. This is an action adventure role playing strategy game. This came out July 19th, 2022, so just under a month ago as of this recording. And you play Lucifer. You literally play Lucifer, who has been cast down by God, and you have to work your way back up by killing the archangels and gaining new relics and pretty much saying like, oh, you know what, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. And despite that, it's not like a religious heavy game at all. It's very loosely based on it. All the characters have different, like the drawings are really cool. It's got local co-op, which I didn't get to play. But the nice thing is this is not a roguelike game. This is a very, it's a static game. So every world you go, every level you go to is always going to be the same, and you can traverse it. It's very open ended. You can go any way you want, but you have to defeat all the archangels in order to beat the game. There's quests, there's sub quests, there's different characters to interact with. The bosses are all unique, and when you beat the bosses, you actually gain, like Mega Man style, you gain one of their abilities. Tons of abilities, tons of relics that you could equip and create your own load. So let's go to you, Greg, first. Thoughts on this?
I only got a little bit of playtime in it, but I've only done like the first like two or three levels. But what I did play was I found to be incredibly difficult. I found myself dying quite frequently in the first the second and third level that I was playing. There was pretty much just like a bunch of enemies that just spawn like right when the level starts. And then they killed me a few times when I initially started, and then after I took them down, then like a boss appeared, and then he took me down several times before I got that figured out because I was using all the healing options available, and I was still getting creamed and couldn't really get a lot of hits in to take him down. Um, but I did finish him off right when I had finished my playtime with it. So I mean, it has been a pretty solid game, but I did think that the difficulty spike jumped up quite a bit between like the first level and the second level because I found myself dying significantly more. Thankfully, there's not like a live system, so you just pretty much just respawn and repeat the stuff that you've already done. But obviously, I would have preferred to have like a checkpoint in between like the starting the level and then that one level with the boss, like the first angel. But um, other than that, it was a pretty solid and fun experience for me. I don't know what you thought of it, Steve.
Yeah, that's interesting that you talk about the difficulty spike in between levels because I actually thought it was fairly easy, but until I got to that first boss, then I felt the difficulty ramped up a lot for that first boss. But I didn't find it as much before that. But as soon as I got to him, I was like, oh wow, like before I was just running through, smashing the attack button, and that was it. But all of a sudden I got to him, and I'm like, oh, I gotta finally use these other moves I have that I haven't been using up until this point. So I also saw the difficulty ramp up, but later than what you did. But
Well, I
also
think it was
similar
around the same
experience.
point because it was like the level that had like those yellow figures that just start like right when you spawn on the level. I think it's like the
Yes.
start
Yeah.
of like level two or
Yep.
level three. Like you
Yep.
just like start in the middle and then you're like immediately surrounded by like
Yep.
three or four things, and then a few more spawn after you take those out, and
Yep.
then the boss spawns like immediately after that, and he starts like shooting out his attacks right away too.
Yeah, yeah, it's the same area. Yeah, I forgot that it started like that, and it was very abrupt. And I think going into that area was yeah, all of a sudden you're there and you're surrounded, and yeah, that was a little jarring, I guess, the first time, and I think I made it through them, but I definitely died on the boss the first time around for sure. But it is nice that I didn't lose anything. Like at that point, I just spawned back again. Well, started again, and was able to beat him the next time. So that was nice because I feel like if they moved me back at the beginning, yes, while old games always did that, it would have been really annoying. And so I was glad that yeah, like you said, there's no live system or anything like that. You just respawn. Um,
Yeah, that's how I would have thought the checkpoint would have fit better right before the boss, like after you take
mm,
them out. That would have been more appreciated because every time I died to the boss, I'm like, oh, I got to fight all these soldiers once again, and like they really chip you down and like use some of my healing stuff unless you can get them without. taking much damage, which apparently I was awful at dodging. But
Yeah, yeah. The other thing that I thought as well is I feel like it does feel like more of a beta in a way. Like I feel like there's certain things that didn't seem as polished as they could have been. And knowing this game has been out for a couple of years on other systems, it's interesting. Like I feel like the jumping aspect is not clean. Thankfully, I didn't encounter anything where I had to be really precise with the jumping, but it was very floaty. It seemed like, and so it didn't make the game difficult at all, but it was just weird to have a very floaty jump. Later on, you do of course get wings and things like that that make it even more floaty on purpose. But in the beginning, it felt very floaty. But again, you don't need to be really precise with your jumps, so it was okay. It just didn't match the overall experience, I think. And so, speaking of the overall experience, I'll get into this before I pass it back to you, Barry. I was shocked. I don't think I expected when you passed over the code and we got it. It's classified as an RPG, and so I went in with this mindset of turn-based RPG. Okay, I got to make sure I have enough time set down and everything. This is more of a Zelda RPG like style,
Yes.
and it's action based and everything. So I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to because of the way the game is. I thought it was going to be a completely different experience. So yeah, I was really pleased with that, and I love moving around, kind of top down, kind of action oriented, and the RPG elements were not overwhelming at all, which I really like about that because it wasn't a ton of stuff that we had to dive into or anything. So, but yeah, back to you, Barry. What do you think?
So yeah, I finished the game. I just got absorbed into it. It's just like the difficulty. Uh, I felt that first boss. I beat him without dying, but what I had to do was, like you said, it was like I had to start using abilities. I was like, all right, I can't just go up and smack him. So that's when I started using the gun. So I was like, I was roll away. I would use the gun and kind of kite him around, and I was like, oh, this is doing some damage. And then he went to like one of the pillars, and I would have to shoot the pillar. And I was like, all right, this is teaching me I can't just button mash. That's what this boss is doing to me. Have to use the roll, have to dodge, have to, be strategic about it. And then after that boss, it opens up. It opens up. You go to this hotel where it's like, oh, this is like your hub, and then you get the teleport pillars. You could teleport around the world, and you can go north, you can go east, you can go west. It doesn't matter. You go wherever you want. You you can't beat the game until you found all the angels and defeat all the bosses and get all the moves. And I like that because it leaves you like if you go east and you're like, oh man, I just got creamed. Let me go west. I will say I went into this game thinking I'm going to attack and kill everything like Zelda. Like I'm just going to kill everything. That is the worst mentality in this game. Do not, do not fight everything. There are plenty of times where you just need to go past enemies because they will drain you of everything you have. There are some tough regular enemies. The bosses are all very cool. I love the way they just each mechanic is different. Each of the abilities is different. The relics you can equip, uh, none of them truly feel overpowered, and there was some really cool combinations. Uh, like one of them, this was one boss that you have to fight, and it's like a one-on-one. It's super difficult, and I was ready to throw my controller down. I was like, I can't do this. And I was looking through my relics, and I found a cool combination where it was like you deal, you take more damage, but you deal like 500% more damage when you're under 33% HP. And I was like, use that with the ability to drain and heal as I hit. And it was just like I was just smacking him. And once they got me under 33%, one hit, I just like killed him. And I was like, yeah, okay, that was pretty cool. Like I wouldn't use this for regular enemies; it's too risky. But for this boss, it worked. And there's a lot of situational abilities to equip, and I like that. Um, you can get duplicates, which I found kind of weird. Like I got a relic that increases my attack, and then I got another one, and I'm like, well, why do I need two? Is it doubled? But no, it's not. It's just
Hmm.
literally I got two because it's random what you get,
Hmm.
and sometimes you can get doubles. But overall, I was very impressed. I think the graphics are like Hyper Light Drifter in that sense.
Hmm.
It's a really cool aesthetic. The story is funny. Like you got
Mm-hmm.
different options you can say to the bosses. You're literally a smart ass, which is fantastic.
Do those answers, because I haven't played through it multiple times, do those answers change anything, or you just get to
Nope.
respond different ways? Okay.
You get to respond different ways because
Okay.
I've died to bosses and then I'm like I'm gonna respond a different way and see
Mm-hmm.
what happens. There's
Yeah,
you're,
that's
you're
pretty
gonna
much what
have
I
to
did on
fight
the
them
first.
all.
Yeah. I did on that first boss. I did get to hear all three of them, and then I was like, "All right, which one do I want to hear this next time? Okay, let's try this one this next time." Like, oh, I did better when I listened to this one. Let's listen to this one. Like,
I will say overall, like the length is, I think I beat it between 5 and 6 hours, and that
Okay.
was me going around. I had to find the last Archangel. I was like, where is it? I couldn't, I missed it. So it's one where you could, take longer depending on how much you want, but it's not like I'm gonna sink 100 hours into this game. It is definitely a shorter experience, which I do appreciate. Actually, right there, I see main story 5.5 hours, so it's pretty on the money with what I experienced. So would going back to you, Greg, is this something you plan to continue?
yes, because I did enjoy the time with it, even though it was kind of like an unexpected difficulty spike that I had talked about. I think it's just kind of more getting more familiarized with the system and realizing you can use the other weapons. Like I didn't really figure out the gun until I finally the time that I actually beat him. Like I think the game like prompted me like, oh, you can like hit this to use like a gun. I'm like, I didn't know I had a gun, and then it was just like, wow, this is like stunning him. Now he's like not even attacking. I can go up there and swing
Yeah,
the sword at him and get even more damage on him. Like this made him so much easier. Like I wish there was like a I somehow either missed the tutorial, wasn't paying
there's a
attention when they
tutorial on the
introduced it,
gun.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's a
but I
tutorial on
totally
the
was
gun.
not. Yeah, I totally missed that until like it prompted me to like use it and like explained it. Because I mean, I was pretty much like my initial mindset was just going in there, just try to slash him a number of times, jump back, hide behind a pillar, let him do some attacks, then go back in there, try to slash him some more. There was some times where I got him down like a third, like 33% left or whatever, and it was just
Hmm.
kind of realizing how to do it like with other power ups and different weapons and strategies. So I do plan to continue. I did enjoy my time with it, but there is that initial difficulty spike that me and Steve were talking about. You're just kind of thrown into it and expected to start performing right away, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I plan on continuing to play it, and I think it's definitely one of those games. I love the, I've kind of harped on a little bit of the aesthetic of a lot of games that kind of going back to the retro kind of graphics and everything. But I was not annoyed by it this time. I was like, it fit because it's a little different. It's kind of that aesthetic, but it's a different take on it, and I really liked what I saw. And so, but it also looks great in handheld. I actually played this in handheld and will probably continue to play it in handheld. I think it'd be a great experience, like when I'm traveling here and there, and you can pick it up and play a few levels and put it down, sort of experience, or you can play for a longer period of time as well. So yeah, I think that's great. The only thing that I haven't mentioned yet that I was kind of annoyed by was, and I don't know if you guys had this experience. It may just be my Switch, maybe because I have a lot of games on SD card or something like that. But it seemed to hang up in the menus quite a bit. When I first booted up the game, it's looked like it was frozen, honestly. And then I ended up hitting the buttons several times, nothing worked. And then all of a sudden, I was seeing menus in Italian because apparently I picked Italian as the language somehow as I was trying to figure out how to get through the very beginning. And then every once in a while, it still got hung up on different menu systems. The game ran smooth, but the menus got hung up. So I don't know if that's a glitch. I don't know if it was my Switch system only, but that was kind of annoying. So I hope that gets fixed because that would it just kind of it's an unpleasant experience navigating the menus when they get hung up like that. But I don't know if you guys got experience like that or not.
I don't know
Uh,
if mine was particularly slow, but I do kind of like understand. Like I did see like that language thing. It felt a little bit to come up, but I also wasn't like trying to like be impatient and just be like, okay, let's load the game and pressing all the buttons. But like I
After
did
about
feel like there was, yeah.
2 minutes of sitting on that screen, I finally started hitting buttons. But yeah, it took a while.
But yeah, then like I did see like the language screen load up, and then I think there was a few other things that it finalized, and then everything just went through smooth and started a new game. But
Hmm.
um, I did think that language thing took a little bit to show up, though.
Yeah.
It only has to do that the first time, which is
Yeah.
usually good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did the same time when I booted it up. It did have a long, like I thought it was frozen too.
Yeah.
So I had that the same thing. I'm like, did it freeze? And then it came up. I was like, oh, okay. And when I tried it a couple other times, it was still long. So I'm like, all right, it's slower to boot up. And like that's not that bad. I didn't have many problems with the menus. Yeah, I think once or twice it did have a little bit of a slowdown at one point. But it was very minor.
Hmm.
I feel like it could be easily altered with a quick patch.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's not even like that early startup loading. Like that's not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
That's just wait
No.
an extra minute,
It's
whatever.
it's more just like if you're aware of it, then you just wait.
Yeah.
But if you're not aware of it, I thought my game broke or something.
So I do
Just
want
try
to point
starting
out
up the. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, just try starting up the Wii U and just pretend like it's gotta wait for it to
the
load.
Wii U.
Yeah. Exactly.
The so this game is 14.99. So we'll go quickly. Greg, would you recommend this game at 14.99?
Yes, I really enjoyed the small experience I had, and would definitely feel it was justified of paying $15 for this game.
Hmm. Interesting.
All right. What about you,
I
Steve?
I would say wait till it's on sale. I think at 5.5 hours, it's a good 5.5 hour experience. I would say. I haven't even played through it, knowing that it's going to be a good 5.5 hour experience, but 5.5 hours for $15, probably not going to play through it multiple times. At least I wouldn't. I'd wait till it's on sale for $10 or less. Would be my recommendation. But if something like this you're really into it, then I'd say go for it. But if you're kind of on the fence, this would definitely be one of those games that I would recommend waiting till it's on sale. But definitely still recommend it though.
You know, normally I'm very picky about a $15 digital game. I'm more of a fan of physical anyway. But after playing through it and having the experience, I do think it's worth $15 because I had a really, really good time. If you can get on a sale, to me it's a no-brainer. But it's one of those things where if you like action RPGs, if you like Diablo, Zelda, you know, Hades, stuff like that. But there's no rogue, things. There's no penalty to death. Everything is static. If you go to the right the first time and you die, you go to the right, you're gonna get the same enemies and the same stuff is gonna be there. I do think it is worth it. Personally. Um, but yeah, once again, we want to say thank you very much to V Publishing for letting us review this game and give us the codes and talk about it. And hopefully, if this sounds entertaining to you, you go pick this game up too.